Presented by First Commonwealth Bank on the Voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. And it's time now for an interview segment. It is our regular Marshal Law segment here on Indiana in the Morning. But before we do that, we need to do this. This radio program is intended to be for informational purposes only. This information does not constitute legal advice. The law is constantly changing, and the information may not be complete or correct depending on the date and your particular legal problem. Each legal problem depends on its individual facts, and different jurisdictions have different laws and regulations. Because of these differences, you should not act or rely on any information in this segment without seeking the advice of a competent attorney licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction for your particular problem. Joining us on the phone right now is Marshal Chriswell. And Marshal, it's good to talk to you once again.
Hey, nice to talk to you. You need to catch your breath after that?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
But I think one of the things that we do need to talk about, I mean, you and I were talking about it just briefly off the air, is the fact that now that this is springtime, people are getting out. So people may be wondering about some of those real estate sales and, of course, the buying and selling of homes. But it's not very widely known that people might need a lawyer for real estate transactions.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, with this time of year, the real estate market is certainly humming along. We're seeing lots of sales and purchases of homes and other types of property. And people, sometimes do think about, well, I need to have a realtor to handle, some part of this transaction. But I find that that often people don't consult with an attorney until later in the process, right? You've identified the home, you've maybe even signed an agreement of sale, you've started your financing application, and then you think, oh, well, we're getting close to closing, so I better contact someone to help me with the title and deed work and things. It's a good idea to have a lawyer involved from the beginning of the process. A smart buyer or a smart seller is going to contact an attorney in the beginning when they first think, okay, well, I think I'm going to put my house on the market, or I'm heading in that direction, or I'm starting to identify some properties that that I'm interested in to purchase for a home or other reason. It's a good idea to have a conversation with an attorney to get a feel for the process, to talk about what are the potential pitfalls here. What do I need to do from a legal perspective in order to buy or sell a home?
So having a lawyer right at the start of the process is key. What are some of the things that the lawyer can do right at the start of this process that would help the potential buyer out?
Sure. A potential buyer, if you've identified a particular property, then and particularly if there aren't any real estate agents involved, which is happening more and more often, right? There are many, many competent real estate agents in our area that can handle these transactions from a perspective of assisting parties with negotiating the price and doing walkthroughs, marketing the property for a seller, these things. But when a realtor isn't involved, it's even more important to have an attorney right up front. And from a buyer's perspective, you're going to need someone to draft an agreement of sale, the offer that you're going to make on the property, to walk you through the procedure of the process of getting potentially getting inspections done, and also, of course, having a title search done and ensuring that you're obtaining good title to the property.
And what about this potential seller as well? Should the potential seller have a lawyer on standby as well? Yeah,
no doubt. I get sellers that will contact me when they say, okay, I'm getting ready to put my house on the market, and whether they have a realtor or they don't, good idea to have an attorney at least take a cursory look at the title to the property. Maybe I'm not going to do a full 60-year title search as I would do prior to closing, but take a look at it and ensure there aren't any major issues, major red flags up front. And I have sellers that will call, and maybe they're aware that there might be an issue. One common one is access issues, right? You have someone that calls and says, hey, I'm considering putting my house on the market, but I know there's this issue. I have been using my neighbor's driveway to access my property for many years. I don't know whether I actually have a legal right to use that driveway or if it's just been a permissive use. My neighbors just allowed me to do it for all these years. And so those are the types of things, and there can be all sorts of issues like that you want to get taken care of first. You don't want to put the property on the market, get an offer, accept an offer, go under contract, the buyer gets their financing in place, and then all of a sudden, a couple weeks before closing, a title search reveals that you don't have legal access to the property, and the whole deal falls through or gets put on hold for months while we try to fix that. So a smart seller will have an attorney involved early to make sure that those, to the best of our ability, make sure that those issues aren't out there.
So after the sale is made, and I guess it goes into escrow at that point, the importance of an attorney increases as well, because as you said, the attorney will now do kind of a deep dive into the history of the property to see if there are any further problems that need to be addressed or anything along those lines.
Yeah, and I represent lots of buyers of properties, and you talk to folks that want to buy properties sometimes as is, right? And they think, okay, well, I understand the property physically has some problems, right? I can put in a new kitchen, I can repair the wiring, put on a new roof, those kinds of things. And that can be okay if you know what you're getting into. But what you don't want to do, you don't want to take the title to the property as is. You want to have an attorney do that title search, as you said, the deep dive, right? Going back 60 years at least, and if we're talking about oil and gas rates, we're going back much further. But usually for a surface of the property, I'm going to do a 60-year title search, look at all the public records, make sure there aren't any outstanding liens, judgments, mortgages, that the chain of title is intact, that there aren't boundary disputes on the record we need to be concerned about, all sorts of things. And you want to have that done because inheriting a title problem can be much more costly, much more problematic than taking on a leaky roof.
As far as real estate law goes, it's not just buying and selling a home. It's also about other topics as well, I would imagine.
Certainly. You deal with not only the transactional side of it, but also all sorts of issues come up with real estate. It can be title issues. So folks that own property maybe have owned it for a long time, and they come to you and they have these problems that didn't get uncovered for whatever reason when they purchased the property. Problems that can go back generations, and so. It's always interesting, as problematic as those are for the clients, for the attorneys. Sometimes it's very interesting to go through those problems and dig through the old titles and old deeds and find the problem, figure out how you're going to fix it for the client. But it can be very time consuming, can be very expensive. And also real estate litigation is something that I handle when you have folks with boundary disputes or someone that maybe doesn't have legal access or their neighbor or another adjacent landowner is denying them access to their property for some reason. Those kinds of things, trespassing issues, all kinds of things arise with real estate and with neighbors.
All right, and if anybody has any questions about real estate law, obviously, contact a competent attorney like yourself and your group. How can they get a hold of you?
Sure, you can give me a call at 724-465-5826. Stop by and see me in the old RMP Cole headquarters at 655 Church Street here in Indiana, or you can always go online, contact us there at www.westernpalawyer.com.
Marsh, it's great to talk to you once again, and I hope to hear from you next week. I think that's what we've got on the schedule. But thanks very much for joining us.
Yep. Talk to you next week, Josh. Thanks a lot.
Thanks again.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.